All right. This is 2026, week one. Jim West and Del Ross with Talking Preps OT. All right, Del, we got a lot to talk about today. What to this evening?
Yes, we do.
We have a friend of yours that's ready to join us. What's the gentleman's name?
A friend of
Charlie.
mine?
Yeah, Charlie.
We have a player coming in.
Player. There you go.
Charlie Stauffer. Yeah.
Well, he's a friend of ours now. Hey, Charlie, how you doing, man?
Good.
So we're going to lead it off, Del.
Well, Charlie's a big offensive lineman. All your highlights, Charlie, that I saw had you playing left tackle.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at these highlights. Some of the things I noticed, Charlie, is that you block into the second and third level. Sometimes you take men into the third level. I think I saw a few pancakes into the second level. Usually they're because you just shove them down. Pretty good footwork. Is this, you say that you're going to move to guard?
Yes, sir.
So do you guys in your offense pull your guards much? What's your reason for going to guard?
They want to get me out in space a lot more. They feel I can move pretty well, and they feel like I can open up some big gaps, especially kicking the ends and pulling up to the backers.
So who's going to do, like right there, sealing that end off like that, especially on a pass? Have you got tackles that's going to be able to do that?
Yes, sir. We do have a tackle.
Well, that is one of the things I noticed about you, is that on the few pass plays that are in your highlights, you did a very good job of moving that lineman out and around and behind the quarterback.
Yes, sir.
So very important. What's your throw to run ratio?
I would say we're run first predominantly, so about a 60-40.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you another question. What's your favorite pancakes? Do you like IHOP, Cracker Barrel, or number 70?
I think IHOP.
Over number 70.
I think number 70 has to get it, though.
I hope you got what I was asking there. How many pancakes did you have last season?
I want to say 33, 34.
Wow. Jim, you have any questions for him?
Well, I just got to ask you, Charlie, what are you going to do after the senior year? I know first thing you're just starting your senior year and you want to enjoy it, but next year, this time, what's the next chapter in your life going to be?
Right now, my plan is to have a great senior year, see what comes from that, and see what opportunities present to me. And whatever that best opportunity might be, I'm going to take.
I got you. Now, education, do you have any special interest that you want to pursue in the next chapter?
I believe something around like international business.
Okay. I got you. Just remember me in about 4 or 5 years when you get that degree. I'm a CPA, although not a very good one. So keep me in mind. I might need your help on that. So
yes, sir.
So any ideas where you want to go? Do you want to go away from North Carolina, or you want to stay in this area? Or
I definitely want to stay in the South somewhere. I mean, I don't think I'll ever leave it after football too. So ideally, below Virginia would be nice, but I'm kind of open to go wherever.
I got you. Now, I got to ask you this question. Do you prefer hot weather or cold weather? If you had a choice,
definitely cold weather. It was pretty hot out of practice today.
I got gotcha.
Yeah, but this time of year, I don't care where you are in this country,
It's gonna be
you're
hot.
going to be hot playing football. That's just
Right.
Davidson has a good international business program, from what I understand.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've thought about Davidson. It's a good school.
Yes, sir.
Got that right. That used to be one of the big five schools back in the 30s and 40s. Everybody talked about Duke and Wake Forest and Carolina, NC State, and Davidson was in that big five. So a lot of good history in that school.
Yeah. Are you talking to anybody about playing?
I've been talking to some D3s. I've had sophomore year.
Uh-oh. That great connection he has froze on him.
I was worried it was mine for a second. Hey, we're back, Charlie. You froze up for a second. No problem
Sorry.
with that. It's not your problem. It's technology. So you were telling us about where you're going to go next, or places you're going to possibly go to next year.
Yeah, I'm trying to have just a good senior year. Sophomore year, I had a little injury with the shoulder, and last year I had a little knee problem. But I'm just trying to see what opportunities present itself for my senior year. I've been talking to some D3s.
Okay.
Locked up again.
Yeah, D3s when we get locked up here. That's kind of love modern technology. So, well, Charlie.
So one important thing, Charlie, I would say is try to choose where your education will match your interests if you can. That's playing football is great. I believe you probably could. Anybody that's going to talk to you probably could play anywhere at that particular level. Think a lot about what you can learn on the education level and play ball as a secondary thing. That's your life, no matter how good you are, and even if you can make it to the Panthers coming to talk to you about playing, it'll end it one day. So keep that in mind.
That's one thing we've kept in mind. My life after football, it's not a 40-year decision. It's going to be that 40-year decision for us. So,
right. Jim, anything more?
Charlie, just thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, I know it's early in the season. You got a lot of thoughts about how you're going to do during the year and stuff, and we just appreciate you spending some time with us, and we just wish you the best with your future endeavors, both on the gridiron and also in the classroom.
all right, yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'll keep following you, buddy. We'll watch your highlights. Keep your huddle updated, man.
Yes, sir.
There you go. All right, and that was Charlie Stauffer. Is that how you pronounce his last name, Stauffer?
I'm
horrible.
How you said it, Stauffer.
I'll tell you right now, when it comes to, oh gosh, I love this right here. I can't do it, Dale. I don't know how you do that with your fingers, but that was pretty cool. High school lineman, come talk with Dale.
I did it really the wrong way. I should have done it like so for West Side, but
okay.
That's live long and prosper. I was a big Star Trek fan, so I have a little hard time with the right hand. But coaches, if you're out there watching, or parents or players, let us hear about your linemen, hands in the dirt people, defensive and offensive side of the ball. The other show, they like to talk about the receivers and the quarterbacks, and that's who you're going to see on the Players of the Week. But we want to give you guys that real glory that you deserve, because you're what makes it happen.
You got that right. You're exactly right. So come join us. Talking about joining us, we got a great guest is ready to join us, Nick Stevens. Nick, welcome aboard. I just want to tell you how much I've enjoyed over the years your work. You've added a lot of pleasure to a lot of fans, and also to some of us who like to have a a second thought about if we're doing things right. And everybody, this is Nick Stevens with VarsityNC.com. Nick, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Nick, I got to ask you, man, what are you doing these days?
Well, I've got kind of two jobs now, I guess. My full-time job is with National Amateur Sports, which a lot of people in the Charlotte area are familiar with. James Shipley, Will Shipley's dad, is our CEO, and we work with school districts to help them protect, enhance, and monetize their athletic department assets to keep middle and high school sports funding sustainable. So we work with a bunch of districts in the Charlotte metro area, CMS, Union, Cabarrus, ISS, and in the Triad and also in the Triangle. And my job there is to help schools and school districts put together their own content and media strategies to help them create funding to sustain their athletic programs. Then,
that is a lot of work right there. That's just thinking about that. You got to be pretty organized to do what you're doing right now.
It can be a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. I still get to work with a lot of the same people I was working with at high school at T, and the coaches and athletic directors. I don't get out to as many games anymore. I'm in a hotel right now. I'm in Monroe. We have a meeting tomorrow with Union County in the morning, so I'm waiting on that here. But you get to go around, see people, talk to people, and see high school sports from a different angle than I saw them for so many years.
Now, are you still living in the Wake County area, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I'm in Raleigh, walking distance to Lenovo Center, which was a lot of fun during the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Now, did you grow up in North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm from Raleigh. I went to Green Hope High School in Cary.
Okay.
My family is from that general area for as long as we can go back and determine.
Oh, wow. So, that's interesting because, you don't – and it's something else here. Green Hope, is that Morrisville? Is it Cary? Or is it whatever you want to call it in a certain day?
It's in Cary, but it is literally right on the border of Cary and Morrisville. There will be a new Morrisville High School opening 5 minutes down the street from Green Hope, and 5 minutes down the street from Panther Creek, and 5 minutes down the street from Green Level. Not this school year, but next school year, Morrisville High School will open.
I got you. My parents live off of 1010 Highway. They're a mile away from Middle Creek High School. Actually, my ancestors were part of the Westlake School Road area, Furman West. And anyway, they've been out there for 32, 33 years. They didn't know at the time that they were moving where our ancestors lived, back in the day. So it's really cool. That Wake County keeps on growing, man. I just can't believe they got Felton Grove. Have you been by Felton Grove High School with a parking deck?
Yeah, well, there's a parking deck at Wake Forest High School. When they renovated Wake Forest, they built a parking deck there right outside the football stadium. So, yeah, Wake County's exploded. I remember growing up and the area out where Green Hope was farmland. And now it's you wouldn't know that there was ever a farm.
Now, Dale here used to work over in Raleigh quite a bit. Used to go to the Southeast Raleigh games back in the day, if I remember right, Dale, and Gardner and stuff.
Well, what would happen is I had customers up that way, and whenever we had rain games, so games get moved to a Monday up in that area, then I'd ask my customers, can I come up and see you on Monday or Tuesday? And then I would watch games. And it just so happened that, that year, what was about somewhere in that 2006-07 time frame when SER they were undefeated through, I think, the regular season. And so that year I was able to go up and watch quite a few games in the Raleigh area.
Gabe Henderson, was he the quarterback at Southeast back then?
I can't remember. I'm sorry. I don't remember.
They had some really good teams with Gabe at quarterback. He's a friend of mine. He actually works for the Kansas City Chiefs now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's worked for back when they were the Washington Redskins. He worked there. He worked for the Vikings for a while, and now he's with the Chiefs. But yeah, they had some battles back then they were really good. Southeast is good again now.
Yep.
They should have a really good year this year.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. What is varsityNC.com first? Go ahead and tell us what you got there.
Yeah, so it's a side project I've been working on, kind of out of labor of love. I was sitting back in the last year or so. I had a lot of time to just kind of look at things and see how things were being done or what's missing. And one of the things I realized was like, it's really hard to find some certain historical things, right, about high school sports in North Carolina. And so the idea I had started with that. And I took the NCHSAA record book and state championship records for all sports, not just football, but all sports, and put them into a database that is interactive, searchable, easy to update. So there's missing information in the record book right now. We all know that. Or there might be new information that we can get about stuff that we know happened. But created that and then started linking it to an athlete database, a coach database. There's about 15,000 athletes in that database now. And then I was like, what else could we do to help create ways for people to better understand high school sports in North Carolina? So another thing was we went and took all of the NCHSAA Board of Directors minutes that go all the way back to 1970. And we put those into an interactive database. So you can go through and see what happened in every meeting. You can search for different topics, see the vote totals for different things. And we used AI to create summaries of every meeting so you can quickly see what happened in each of those. So there's stuff like that. There's stuff like enrollment numbers, ADM numbers over time. You can compare schools, see how they've changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Participation data that we get from the NFHS every year is in there. NIL information is in there. There's a bunch of historical stuff that goes into there. And then, of course, there's some content stuff as well. That's like a passion of mine. So I had to have some of that in there.
Right.
And then just doing some interviews with people who have had an impact on North Carolina high school sports, and kind of creating like an oral history of that. So it all kind of starts with the historical side, and then kind of bleeds into the what's happening today. What are the big topics today? I don't really have time to go cover games every day. Like I might at high school OT back in the day.
Right.
It's not my full-time job. So, but it gives me a chance to do some deeper reporting on stuff that I am passionate about. I did like 2,000 words the other day with the Northwood athletic director, Cameron Vernon, who's put forth a proposal to allow co-op teams in the NCHSAA. So, stuff like that is what I'm doing there.
Well, some of what you're doing there is a passion of my mind too.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll hear a little bit later about something that I'm bringing back out, but something you just mentioned, man, I'm so glad you thought about doing that. And that is taking all the minutes and put them into something searchable. So things like that, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll link over to you
for sure
off of what we're doing at Carolina Varsity, because history of what we do. Or what, when I say what we do, I think all three of us here in Langston and others have a passion for high school athletics. And some of us old people have a passion for the old stuff. So I'm glad to hear that's what you're doing. That's awesome. We may have to talk a little bit more about that later. But because you brought up NCHSAA and minutes and all, we got a new commissioner. What do you think about that? And what are your thoughts?
Well, I had an opportunity to talk to Brad Alford. It was actually the first story I did on Varsity NC, was an interview with Brad. I think he's got some really good ideas. I think he's coming in and wants to look at things from a different perspective, which he's going to have coming from the Department of Public Instruction and that new setup where the NCHSA and the State Board of Education are more closely tied. So I think he's going to have a different perspective on things. I know he's got some stuff that he wants to tackle and focus on early. One of those is student participation and finding more ways for students to participate in high school sports. That was one of the things he told us. I think he's going to have he's got some work he's going to have to do. Officiating is a big concern, and the issues that some of the officials see with sportsmanship or the pay situation for officials. I think that'll be one of the first things he's going to have to look at. I will say one of the things I took away from the interview was how much he talked about wanting to bring in other voices and hear other opinions from coaches, athletic directors, the officials themselves, and having those open discussions with everybody at the table. I think that'll be well received when that happens. But I think he brings a level of experience, especially after being at DPI for a few years, that I think will be helpful.
Yeah, these are things
sounds
we've
great.
had lots of.
I had a question for you, Nick.
Here.
It's breaking up here.
Go ahead, Jim.
I'm sorry, my internet started acting up for a second. I just had a question for Nick, and I don't know if something the commissioner might encounter before too long. 8-man football, do you think the High School Athletic Association will sanction sport?
Did you ask if I thought 8-man would be sanctioned? Sorry, you cut out right at the end there.
That's correct. Yeah, 8-man.
It's an interesting thing, right? The rules of sanctioning sports require a certain number of teams or schools offering the sport. I would argue that 8-man football is just a different level of competition, not a different sport. That's how I would approach that. At the same time, you got to have enough teams playing it that you can offer a playoff and a championship if you're going to sanction it. So I don't know if they would. I don't know how the board would approach that. I don't know if there's been a real big push. I haven't heard of one. I haven't a push from the schools to even have that conversation at this point. There have been some schools in the eastern part of the state who went to 8-man football in the NCHSAA, and they just played independent schedule. They played some of the NCISAA schools, and then they never had a playoff, right? They never had a postseason. But I think most schools want to get back to 11-man football. Even the ones who are having the participation issues this year, they want to play 11-man. They won't play 8-man. I think 8-man is a great solution for a lot of the places that have those participation issues. Maybe even some of the smaller schools like charter schools could get involved in playing 8-man football. It is interesting. One of the historical perspective stories I did on Varsity NC was actually about the first 8-man football championships and how that came to be and it took like 20 years to get that off the ground back in the 50s and 60s. So in the 20s, 30s, 40s, there were 8-man teams, but it was not organized. And then the NCHSA sanctioned 8-man football for like 5 or 6 years, and then it went away and everybody started playing 11-man. But there was a quote from one of the organizers, I think in the Greensboro area, who said something along the lines of like, a lot of schools are going to regret going to 11-man one day because they're not going to have enough players to play. And I was like, wow. In the 60s, somebody knew what they were talking about.
That's a problem we face right now, that, we see some programs not able to field teams this year because of not having enough players. So it's something I've wondered, could 8-man address that? I don't know what an ideal squad size is. I know in 8A football, 11-man, you want to be able to put 50 men on a sideline is what you would like to be able to do, is have 50 players, no more than 50, somewhere between 40 and 50 players. I don't know what an 8-man would look like it's an interesting concept. It's something we need to think about because football is facing a downturn in participation. So,
yeah, and there are other states who have implemented 8-man football. I mean, well, the NCISA plays 8-man football. So, there's precedent for it, not only in other state associations or the independent league, but also in the NCHSAA. If you go back to, like I said, the 50s and 60s, there is a precedent for it. And I think if the schools pushed for that and showed interest in it, I think there would be discussion amongst the board of directors and at the NCHSAA. But I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm just saying I'm not aware of any wide discussion by the schools pushing for that right now. But I do think it's a legitimate discussion to have about participation.
How about everybody here in the Talking Preps world has their own ideas on charters, parochial schools, recruiting around all this. What are your thoughts? And do you think that charters should have a separate playoff bracket? We're not going to influence you by what we think.
Oh, it's such a tough issue because public education has changed so much quickly, right? Like the number of charter schools has exploded. There's a lot more school choice opportunities in North Carolina now than even just 10 years ago. So, the one thing I'll say before I make any other statement is this isn't not an issue that is unique to North Carolina. Like a lot of times on social media and stuff, you'll hear people yell at the NCHSAA or criticize people for not making a decision. This is an issue that every state association is dealing with across the country right now. And no one has a good answer that everybody's like, oh, this works. Could the charter schools and parochial schools have their own bracket? I think in a lot of sports they could. It wouldn't work in every sport, like football. I don't think it would work. But in a lot of sports where most schools play, I think that is something that could be looked at. At this point, and this is just based on my interpretation, I haven't asked this of anyone at the NCHSAA, but I think that would require a change in the bylaws now because the NCHSAA, all the member schools, when they passed the new 8 classifications, they passed language that said this isn't a direct quote, but based solely on average daily membership numbers. Well, whether you're a charter, parochial, or traditional public school is not an average daily membership number. So you would have to change that language. It may even require action from the State Board of Education at this point. And I would also wonder, again, this is just coming from me, not anybody at the NCHSAA, but if they did something like that, if it's not well received by the charter schools or parochial schools, and you would probably have a mixed reaction, would that draw more scrutiny from the state legislature? Because the state legislature is very supportive of school choice. So, I think that would be something that the NCHSA would have to weigh too.
I'm not sure. Looks like Jim is grayed out. Well, my thoughts are, one, exactly like what you said there. There's language that allows them to be part of the system. Mm-hmm. I have no problem with charters. People complain about them having this radius of being able to bring players in, but you still have to go through a lottery process to get into the schools. So I really don't have a problem with it. I really want to see public education revamped totally. I want to see, and this is not something I would have argued 10 years ago, but I want to see, at least I'd like to see CMS move to a truly open system and eliminate this. The transfer portal in high school is now becoming bigger than it is in college, it looks like. And this is, I don't know how you feel about that, but.
Yeah. Well, one last thing on the charter school thing. In terms of like, people like to throw out the R word, recruiting. You know, I am very skeptical anytime I hear recruiting allegations, just because a lot of times those get thrown out because a kid enrolls at a new school, and we often don't know the actual situation when a kid goes to a new school. They're not always transferring. Sometimes they just move to a new place. So sometimes there's situations we don't know about. The benefit that charter schools have, particularly at the ones who are at the very small classifications, is that most of them, not all of them, but most of them are pulling students from large metro areas like the Charlotte metro area, the Triangle or the Triad. A lot of them are pulling from these larger areas with more resources than a lot of our rural areas where the other small schools are located. So the students have more access to playing year round, to private instruction and private training and all that stuff. And so I don't think charter schools are recruiting players. I don't think that, the residency thing is what it is. I don't even think that's a big of an advantage. I think the advantage is a lot of them are pulling from large metro areas, and the old realignment system we had took that into account, with the federal assistance that students got, taking that into account. But we got rid of that. So I actually think you're going to see charter schools winning at a higher rate in this new alignment that we're in than they did previously. One, because there's 8 classifications and they're more split up. But 2, we took out the financial piece of it. In terms of transfers in general, I actually hosted a panel at the North Carolina Athletic Directors Association conference earlier this year in Asheville, and the topic was the changing landscape of high school sports. And this was the number one topic everybody wanted to talk about, was the transfer issue. One thing I've come to realize, having stepped out of the media role that I was in for so long, and being able to go and work with ADs more behind the scenes, I think we are very, and I include myself in this, very loose with the word transfer. And so, like I said, every time a kid goes to a new school, we just all call it a transfer. And oftentimes it's not, because a transfer is you don't move and you just go from one school to another. That's a transfer. But a lot of times in high school, people are actually moving, and that means they're going to a new school. That is not a transfer. That just means they've moved and they're enrolling at a new base school, right? So ADs are really sensitive to that, because when we in the media then talk about all these people as transfers, we're kind of creating not creating, because it does exist, but we are enhancing the storyline that there's all of these transfers happening, right? There are a lot of transfers happening, but they're not all actual transfers. So that was one thing I've learned in the last year working with ADs. I will tell you that a lot of them are kind of irritated with it too. They have to deal with all the paperwork. They have to deal with all the rules and regulations with it. The thing that kind of gets me, and I said this on another podcast I was on a couple weeks ago, was when we get on social media and we see the graphics that are being made about kids transferring from one school to another, and schools are posting graphics about kids transferring into their programs. To me, that would have never happened, even like 3 years ago. That would have not happened. And if you're a coach or a school posting that, like, you're walking a really, really fine line into a gray area about what is and is not undue influence. I actually think that's going to become something that the NCHSA has to address. I saw, I won't say where it was or anything, but I saw a graphic on social media a few months ago where it was a middle school student posting a graphic narrowing his list of high schools, like narrowing your list going to college. Like, that's insane.
That was here in this county.
Yeah.
Well, that would be another one, because the one I'm talking about was not in
Okay, we had one here in this county doing that.
But to me, that's just wild. Like, you might be a great player in the 8th grade. That does not mean you're going to be a great player when you get to varsity football. So,
see, the problem, you hit it on the head, nail on the head. And I think this last spring was the absolute worst that I've seen of mention of where I'm going to be going to play sports, at least here in Mecklenburg County. And that's because we had a couple of things, fall. Of course, we had Huff win a state championship. And here in Charlotte, people have always found a way to move to the championship winning schools. That's just been a natural thing and it happens everywhere across the state. You win a state championship, people want to come play for it. But we also,
let me interrupt you real quick, because coaches will get, accused of recruiting in those situations, but 99.9% of the time, that's not actually happening. The kids and the parents find a way to go to where they think they have the best opportunity.
That's right.
That's the, I don't like to see the coaches have accusations made about recruiting without, unless you have actual evidence. If you have actual evidence, then great.
And
Listen,
it's not just that though. The association a lot of times gets accused of turning a blind eye, and I'm like, you don't have any evidence. The only thing you have is hearsay. I mean, I've seen you over the years. You have always been a good defender of pragmatism, and pragmatism a lot of times means to support the High School Athletic Association. And I have friends say, what's Nick saying over here? This is crazy. He's covering up. I'm like, no, he isn't. Nick's saying exactly what I'm thinking, what everybody else is thinking that has a mind to themselves. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there for you, Nick.
Trust me, there have been plenty
I went to an event.
Not think I'm defending them.
I went to an event. It was about 15 years ago when 7-on-7 was really the 7-on-7 after football season. The teams that had sprung up when that was starting to kick up, and some people invited me to come to this event, and here in Charlotte, and Dina was there, and a lot of star players, high profile players, were at this event, and the recruiting that was taking place right in front of me, but the recruiting was by parents.
Yeah.
See, this is what I don't think people understand. Parents and kids recruit other players. And a lot of this happens in this 7-on-7 environment when you have mixed, players from one team and another team coming together to play on a 7-on-7 team. And then they get together and they're like, well, hey, you should come play with us over here. That's where a lot of your recruiting is happening.
Yeah, I agree.
Just unbelievable. I just want to say, Nick, I've always appreciated your candor when it comes to high school athletics in the state of North Carolina. A lot of times you say the unpopular thing, but the unpopular thing is sometimes the truth. And this just stuff that a lot of people do not understand. I just want to tell you thank you for doing all that you have done over the years. And I know the same thing with J. Mike Blake, who I used to run into all the time on the high school sidelines. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's done outstanding work over the years too, covering a lot of these same issues that we're talking about tonight. I think that anytime you're the NCHSAA and or any governing body of anything, like, you're going to take incoming because especially in a state as big and diverse as North Carolina, we've got big cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, and we've got a lot of very small rural towns throughout the state, and we've got beach towns and mountain towns, and there's just a lot of differences. I think that they have to make some tough decisions sometimes, and they're never going to make everybody happy.
Right.
That doesn't mean we don't question them when when decisions are made or not made sometimes. But oftentimes the criticisms that they get from the general public are often just because people don't know the intricacies of what they're talking about. But I also don't blame people for not knowing that either, because it's complex. Like I read the handbook almost every year. No one else should have to do that. So, no normal people are not sitting through board of directors meetings and listening to 8 hours of that on Zoom. So, that's our job, right? We're supposed to inform people.
I'm glad that's your job and not my job, because sometimes that's like watching paint dry. My gosh. But anyway, I just got to ask you a quick question. What was your favorite coach to interview of all time?
Oh gosh, there are so many of those. I don't know if I could come up with one. I'll tell you one that is coming to mind right now would be Eddie Gray, the basketball coach at Garner for a long, long time. He is just a character. People from opposing teams, like fans from opposing teams, would watch him on the sidelines and be like, "What is wrong with that man?" Like his theatrics on the sidelines were wild, and he would do things that, not disrespectfully, but like he would make mannerisms and stuff that any other coach would have teed him up immediately, but everybody's just like, that's Eddie. But when he's done coaching and you talk to him, he's one of the nicest people that you will ever talk to. His players loved him. He coached forever. Finally won a state championship in one of his final seasons, so that was good. David Green, who was a football coach,
that was mine, number one.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I still talk to him every now and then. He's living his best life at the beach now.
He used to live in Hillsboro, about 5 minutes from me. I live in Hillsboro, so great guy.
He is. And he did a lot to turn programs around. He and back in the day when he was at Leesville Road and Earl Smith was at Wake Forest, they did a lot to really change the perspective of Wake County football. Back in the Wake County days, right? The first thing was the Wake County teams have to beat the Cumberland County teams or New Bern, and they did that. And Wake Forest got to a state championship several times before they finally won some. But now you've had others break through. Leesville's been to state championships. Gibbons has won. Roseville's been to state championships. So it's those two in Wake County football. I credit a lot with turning the tide on football in Wake County.
Gotcha. I will tell you one quick one here. The old PA from Millbrook is a cousin of mine, Don D'Ambrosi, and he speaks awfully high of Earl Smith. So Earl's a classic guy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. He was before he got to Wake County. He was it High Point Central, I think.
So. I knew he ended up over in like New Hanover or somewhere one time.
Yeah, that's where he retired from New Hanover. But he was at Millbrook for a long time. I think he's in Millbrook's Hall of Fame.
He has to be.
He was at Millbrook for a long time, obviously at Wake Forest before they became back when they were Wake Forest Rolesville. So yeah, he's left a legacy.
You got that right. Dale, anything else that you covered for me while my internet decided to go and play some games with me? I'm on my phone right now.
Well, certainly we would like to invite Nick to stick around if he would like to stick around.
Oh gosh, please. Yeah, I'd love for Nick if he's got time, please.
I'm just sitting in a hotel room, so.
I think we hit the big points, and I do believe we agree on a number of key issues, which is hard to believe that people that have at least some kind of grasp of high school athletics and coupled with a passion for it can't have a lot of common thoughts on recruiting and what we're playing, how we're playing, etc. So you fall in line with I think pretty much everyone at here at Talking Preps and how we all think about these things. Recruiting being an overblown issue, I think sometimes. Transfer is not, and I hate to call it transfer too. I know better because I know that here in CMS at least, you just can't get transfers. Transfers are near impossible because the school crowding is such that homeschool kids get their seats first. That you can't just say, "Hey, I want to go over and play at Huff, and I want to transfer, but I'm not going to move. And don't worry, I've got transportation." Your chances of getting that transfer approved are very slim, and have always been that way.
Yeah.
As long as I've been alive, I tried to transfer because I grew up as a Harding family. My parents and everybody went to Harding, and I went to Harding football games, when I was coming up, and I played in youth league there in the Harding area, and I was forced to go to West Mecklenburg, and I tried to transfer. I even practiced 2 weeks with Harding football team while I was waiting on my transfer to be approved, just to get a letter that said no.
Scandal to me. We might have to go back and look at.
Oh yeah, I don't think Harding did very well that year. So
retroactive penalties.
You're not going to retroactive take away too many wins from them, I don't believe. But recruit this transfer thing has never really been a thing in CMS, but people moving or claiming residency somewhere has been an issue. And we've had illegal claims of residency that we had one not too many years back that got caught, and people were slapped on the wrists about it. But for the most part, it's families move. Strawley said, we have lots of multi-home, apartment. It's not hard to go get a place or an address somewhere in Mecklenburg County. So
I don't know how they do it in CMS, but I do know in other districts, particularly some of your larger districts in the state where they have more staffing and resources, they will actually go look and see if you have moved.
It happens.
They will send people to see, okay, you moved, like, are you coming back home from school and going to that address? And is there furniture in the house or in the apartment? Like that, people will do those things. I'm gonna give you a one-line thing to say to Alex Bass. I'm sure you know Alex. Next time you see Alex, ask him if he'd like to go take some flashlights and look in some homes. And he'll know what you're talking about, I'm sure, because he loves to talk about that particular situation that happened here in CMS years ago. It does happen. And I think what people on the outside probably should understand is, like, the school districts want to stop that too, because it impacts stuff way beyond athletics when kids are going to different schools. So, they have an interest of doing that. And the issue is the burden of proof lies with the school district to prove that they are manipulating the system or cheating or lying or whatever it is. Right. Just like the burden of proof, if you're going to accuse somebody of recruiting, the burden of proof lies with you to prove it. If you're going to make that accusation, it's not up to the person you're accusing to defend themselves.
Exactly. You got to have the evidence. Bring the evidence.
Yep.
Recruiting.
I had a vision of Alex Bass wearing a North Carolina High School Athletic Association windbreaker jacket, breaking into doors to see if there's furniture and beds and stuff like that on it.
Well, CMS has a department that can do that kind of stuff associated with the police department. So
yeah,
how much investigation they do, I don't know, but I do know that they do some.
Right.
If you get a lot of, when we had that situation with West Charlotte, a lot of flack went down because West Charlotte and CMS was advised that something was taking place and they weren't acting. And I think after that, they overreacted as things started, as the dominoes started falling in that situation. Then I think they went into an overreaction situation. And then since then, I have heard where they do, follow up on things. So let's, we do have some other things to cover. So
Yeah, let's talk
maybe
about the
we
next
can
stuff
move
here.
on.
Yeah. Nick, we want you to stay on because you're going to have some valuable insight here for us.
Okay.
All right. And be honest with you, I'm guessing at the script at this point, if we, there we go. We'll look at the observers, the top 25 here. Here's the one for you. There's a big discussion about who's the number one team. I know we had Huff, Providence Day, Grimsley. I think the other one that we had mentioned was possibly Weddington. Who's your guys' number one team at this point?
I'll jump in first. Huff, without a question. I think there's a gap. Okay, there I said it.
I'll just say, like I said earlier, I don't get to go see as many games as I used to, but when you're the defending state champion and have a bunch of talent coming back, that's an easy one for me.
And you have added talent, Nick.
And added talent, yes.
They added.
Well, number 6, I want to talk about that real quick. J.M. Robinson. I know they're my favorite right now in the 5A. They're going to be a solid team here. Do you see them beating a team like Weddington? You got to be a really, really great team to beat Weddington. Dale, I'll just start with you, see if you have any thoughts on that.
I don't agree with that particular ranking there. I think J.M. Robinson is definitely a contender in 5A for a state championship. They're going to be a team that we'll be talking about going into the playoffs and deep in the playoffs. They'll still be there. But Weddington, man, no. Weddington's a team that's, I think, up in the top 4 in the state still. So.
Okay. And this is good rankings here. I like these rankings that we have here. I have no problem with it throwing it in. But the one thing I'll say in the Wake County area, and Nick, you jump in on this because you may have some different insight. I saw the Bull City Classic Jamboree last week, and Rollsville is huge. They're the team that impresses me the most right now. Millbrook is a really good team. And Cardinal Gibbons in Southeast Raleigh are going to be really good also. But right now, I think Rollsville might be my favorite team in the triangle. Nick, any thoughts on that one?
I think probably Rollsville, Millbrook, Gibbons, Southeast Raleigh, in some order there, are going to be your best teams in that area. I will say one thing about Rollsville. They do have a new head coach this year. Kevin Reddick, who knows a little something about winning. He was a state champion. Actually, I think he was on the state championship team at New Bern that ended the independent streak. He played at Carolina, obviously. So I think he's going to do a good job there. But it's not really his first year. He was there as an assistant before, so he knows the program. The program knows him. Millbrook obviously coming off a trip to the state championship. Cardinal Gibbons, I think, is going to be better this year. From what I've heard, this will be their head coach, Stephen Wright. This will be his last season at Cardinal Gibbons. He's stepping away to be the athletic director at St. David's after this season, and Nick Drew will be taking over as the head coach next season. He's been the defensive coordinator there for a while. Played at Campbell. He's from Durham. Southeast Raleigh, that program, they've really got that moving in the right direction. They had several years where they struggled, but they have talent now. They are well coached, and they're a fun team to watch.
Dale, besides Huff for number 1, number 2 in the Mecklenburg area, Providence Day is probably might be number 2, but in the NCHSAA, who would you take as the second best team? Would you take Mallard Creek, or would you take somebody else?
No, I wouldn't take Mallard Creek, I don't think. Quite honestly, let me see. I guess they're going to have to be a dark horse, but I think somebody like a Palisades might be a better team than Mallard Creek. And I don't see them on this top 25.
They're number 20.
Where are they at? Oh, they're at 20. That's a team you better watch out for, because last season
Right.
they closed games. That was their problem. Every one of those games they lost, they were up in, and some of them up big late, and they fell apart in the fourth quarter. So that's a team I would look for. But Providence Day won, Jim and Nick. That's a very good team, and they're solid. They're a solid number 2. I'm sure that Chad would argue they can beat Huff, but there may be a gap between them and all the others, because Providence Day is a very good team. But who in Mecklenburg County would be next? Well, I would put Weddington above Mallard Creek.
Is this
And they
the part
are.
of the show? Is this part of the show where you put Langston's cell phone number up on the screen for people to text?
So that he can get calls. The one of the teams I don't see on here that probably is not up in the top 10 and competing, but as an Ashbrook might be a team to be looking for. But
Kings Mountain might be the team over in that Gaston, Cleveland area that could be a real special team.
I've been on their bandwagon too many times for them to disappoint me. I'm a big Kings Mountain fan, but they never can get it done.
I got to give a shout out to my buddy DJ McFadden at West Charlotte. That's going to be a fun year for them. Who knows I don't know if anybody knows how good they're going to be, but I like DJ. I like his coaching skills. So should be fun this coming year. I'm expect the unexpected.
I think Chambers has a chance to be really good, quite honestly, more so than West Charlotte.
Okay, Nick, this is the part of the show. It's called the Sane or Insane. You tell me if my picks are sane or insane. We'll start with 1A. I'm going out on a limb. I think these 2 teams met this last year. I still see them meet this year. Sane or insane on that one?
I don't know much about either of them, so I'll go with sane. If they got there last year, they could get back, right? I know Wilson Prep's got a tough game in week 1. They're playing Clayton.
Right, and they played them last year, and that was I got to give Wilson Prep credit. They played the toughest 1A schedule by far. It's not even close to being anybody even close to their strength of schedule. Great schedule. Corvian, I love Corvian. I love their coach. I love their program. A very new program. I think they might be on year 4 or 5. I see them going and compete against Tarboro. And I'll be honest with you, Tarboro graduated a lot of players this last year. They're still Tarboro. They're going to make the state championship, at least in my eyes. But this will be the 10th year in a row. Death, Taxes, and Tarboro going to the state championship.
Yeah, I always told people it doesn't matter who Tarboro graduated. They got next people that are coming.
They reload.
Machine in Tarboro. I don't know what you have, like Kinston basketball in the eastern part of North Carolina that has been the machine, and you got Tarboro football, and they really are. They're really a special program. 10 straight appearances potentially is. You said insane, sane or insane? That is insane.
That is insane. Dale, how about you? You like Corvian?
I do like Corvian. So I think that's a pretty probable matchup.
Now, 3A, if I had to pick if any of these that I think I'm a little bit insane about, it would be 3A, because you don't have Shelby in there. And James Keenan, they haven't been to a state championship in about, I think, 2013, about 13 years or so. You can make an argument for some team like Northeastern, Pender. but I'm going to take James Keenan. Lincolnton, I tell you what, Lincolnton, they're going to be in a dogfight between Lincolnton and with Shelby and Eastern Randolph. But saying insane, if I'm insane, how insane am I? Dale, I'll let you give your thoughts.
I don't think it's insane to think Lincolnton may be there. James Keenan had a really good season last year. I think they're going to obviously have to have a bigger season.
Right.
So I think it's probable. I don't think it's entirely insane.
Okay.
Duplin County is known to put some teams in state championship games.
Mm-hmm.
You got that right. I remember in like a 2-year period, East Duplin, North Duplin, James Keenan, Wellsford, actually in a 4-year period, all 4 of those schools made it to the state championship finals. So very good football. I mean, everybody talks about Cleveland County. You know, you got 4 incredible teams in the eastern part of the state. Duplin County, my gosh, and Craven County. Those 3 teams are really good too. You know, but Duplin County is a great football county. Now 4A, this one I feel pretty good about. I love Reidsville. Reidsville is definitely going to make it in the East. Reidsville is like the 21st or 22nd team in the farthest east in the 4A. So they're going to go to 4A or into the East because 24 teams make it in the East. I like High Brighton. I think they're a really solid team on that. Nick, you got any thoughts about Reidsville or High Brighton?
Reidsville is kind of like Tarboro to me.
Right.
They're always a safe pick. It just feels like they just reload all the time. Obviously, they do have a pretty big piece to replace in Deontay Neal, but they're like I said, they're like Tarboro. They're safe all the time.
Got you, Dale.
I don't even have to say anything about Reidsville. That's probable. I'm always going to pick Reidsville.
Right.
High Brighton, I don't know. I don't think it's an insane pick. I don't know that it's my pick.
Right.
But because I think there's some other teams, over here in the West that you got to really give some thought to. It'll be tough. The West is going to be hard to come out of.
Well, I agree with you.
Maybe
And talk about
Brevard, Central Davidson. There's going to be some tough matchups.
I tell you what, I love seeing Central Davidson play with their offense. You talking about having all your players with like 3 yards of each other's football in a telephone booth. Now, talk about a fight club in the West. 5A is going to be strong. J.A. Robinson to me is the top in the West. Franklin's not that far behind. Crest is not that far behind, but I like J.M. Robinson. The 5A is going to be the East is going to be a pretty close one too. Northside Jacksonville is my team right now. Dale, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts about J.M. Robinson? Am I sane or insane about that one?
Crest, East Lincoln, South Point, Hickory.
Yeah.
You got all those teams that they're going to have to get through. It's going to be those 5. I think it's going to come out of those. I don't believe Monroe. I'm not going to say Monroe can't be in that mix, but I believe it's going to come out of those that I just mentioned. It's not an insane pick. I think JMR has been sniffing it for a while. So
I think I'll open the hotel window over here and yell out that Dale said Monroe can't make it to the state championship.
I said it's going to be. Not that it can't, but I think the probabilities, about like getting snow here for Christmas. So,
any thoughts about Northside Jacksonville, Nick?
I mean, you talk about parts of the state where there's strong football pedigree. That Onslow County, Jacksonville area is one of them. So, I would not object to Northside having a strong season.
Now, 6A, Kings Mountain, they're a team that seems like it's almost like the Boston Red Sox were from between 1918 to about 2004. they were so good. We thought they were going to make it, and something, Charlotte Catholic beats them in like a 7 overtimes or something crazy happens. I like Kings Mountain. Uh, I don't really necessarily believe in curses or anything, so I will say Kings Mountain gets over the curse. They're that good this year. Northern Nash, I like them a lot, but I tell you what, both sides of the state have plenty of good teams across the state of North Carolina in 6A. Northern Nash, I'm sure one of our former governors will like that one. Nick, any thoughts about Northern Nash reaching the state championship?
Might see a U.S. senator or future U.S. senator on the sideline if they get the championship. He was there when they won or went to the state championship a few years ago.
Against East Lincoln,
he was on the sideline there at Carter Finley. Northern Nash is a really impressive program. The way that they've built that up over the years. I've been around long enough to remember when they were not very good. So to see them not just get to a state championship for one season, but consistently compete at a high end in the eastern part of the state, I think that says a lot about how they've built that up there. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them make another run.
Dale, I got to ask you, Kings Mountain. We loved Kings Mountain, but will they make it to the state championship? Or can they? Are they likely or possibly? What's the word?
So who are the teams that would get in the way? Watauga, maybe. I don't know about
Watauga.
Catholic. I don't know if Catholic can make it up there. I really like Ashbrook still.
Northern Guilford.
Northern Guilford. Sun Valley may prove to be decent, but I'll say this: Kings Mountain has got to be one of the best programs. Might be the best program that hasn't won that hasn't at least made it there.
Right.
Over my time period of being on their bandwagon, so
right.
I might jump back on their bandwagon. We'll see.
Let's go to 7A here. Grimsley versus Southeast Raleigh. I love Grimsley's team. I mean, they're so good. They had that freshman quarterback come in last year, and Grimsley just didn't miss a beat. That team is just so deep. They have so much talent. I think they're going to run through 7A West. I know there's a lot of great teams in there, but Grimsley's just so good. I think there might be the third or fourth best team in the state. Southeast Raleigh, I mean, there's going to be a bit of a fight club. All those teams, Cleveland, Clayton, Southeast Raleigh, Gardner, those four teams are like probably one of the best combination in the state and conferences. Nick, what's your thoughts about those, about Southeast Raleigh?
That conference is tough. Southeast, so they, like I said, that's been a program that has had to build itself back. E.J. Campbell is the head coach there. He's been there several years now. He's an alum of Southeast Raleigh. So, him, if he were able to get Southeast to a state championship game, can you retire a coach's jersey? They would have to recognize him somehow at Southeast Raleigh if he were to get them there. I think the 7A in the East is more difficult than the 8A in the East, top to bottom. I think 8A might have better top end talent, but like 7A, you got Cardinal Gibbons, that's going to be a contender there as well, for example. So Southeast, I think they're in the mix of the top end teams in 7A, but I don't even know how to begin to guess who that 7A East champion will be.
Dale, what's your thoughts? Who in the West could possibly get in front of Grimsley?
Well, first I'll say I kind of agree on the East as well. Weddington, I believe it's going to come down to Grimsley and Weddington.
Right.
I want to see if Mooresville can add to the really good season they have last year to make it a better season. But I just don't think when you get down to that time in the cold part of the season, I really believe it's going to come down to Weddington and Grimsley. That's what I think. In the West.
The team over in Iredell County I'm keeping an eye out on is actually Lake Norman. I think they could have a really special season this coming year. Lake Norman, Mooresville, really close to in talents and coaching and everything too.
They could have a good season. Beating Weddington's going to be tough though.
Yeah, well, I agree with
or Grimsley. Or,
yeah,
which either one they face. Yeah,
exactly. 8A Huff versus Hoggard. Hoggard to me, it's either going to be Hoggard, Rollsville, Millbrook, you name it. Oh, and 7A, I should have mentioned Cardinal Gibbons. Obviously, I think Cardinal Gibbons is another one of those teams that's right there. Yeah. But in 8A, in the East, Hoggard, Rollsville, and Millbrook are the teams that I like. But I'm going to pick Hoggard in that. Dell, I'll start with you. Huff versus Hoggard. Could you see that happen?
I could see it happening, though. Yeah, I mean, I can see that happening. I kind of also think you got Rollsville and Millbrook to be thinking about. And I just don't know who in the West could get in the way of Huff. You know, West Forsyth? No, I don't think so. Mallard Creek? I don't think so. Myers Park? No. So, yeah.
You know, Nick, here I am, a guy from the Triangle. I didn't even pick a team in 8A on the Triangle to represent the East. Tell me who would you pick if I didn't pick Hoggard? Who would you take?
It would be whoever wins between Millbrook and Rollsville. that they're both going to be, you know, really going at it. We'll have them play a conference game. They're both in the cap, so they'll play in the regular season. And then I suspect we'll see them play again in the playoffs a few weeks later. I think those are the two programs in Wake County that are, at least in 8A, that are on that level. You know, who regardless who comes out of the East, I'm pretty comfortable that I think Huff is the 8A favorite right now. Over the field.
Well, Leesville Road, I'll say, is my dark horse in 8A, but I think they're a little bit behind the other three.
And they've got experience making deep runs.
You got that right. So, well, that was fun. Guys, I appreciate you playing around with me on the Sane or Insane here. I know we got some more fun here. I don't have the cue in front of me, so Mr. Producer will help us out.
All right.
Okay,
so,
Dale, this is yours here.
Nick, I don't know if you are aware, but about 10 years ago, we created a report that we called the North Carolina High School Football Report. And what it did was not only created power rankings and predicted games, what we did with it is we predicted the entire season every week and recalibrated it all the way to championship. And the programmer that built that, I provided a lot of the input into what might go into the algorithm.
Yep.
We wanted something better than Massey. And I say Massey or Drew Passer, if you're familiar with if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
Fun fact, he helped me pass statistics at NC State.
Did he? He's a very sharp guy. So fun fact, so what I did is I gained access to an AI model through my son. And I have been training AI to do this and feeding it as much information. And I'm still in the learning process of this model. And of course, the first week, people, this is up, it's live, you can see it. It's the first week of the season. I'll tell you now what I did to even be able to place things at some kind of level is I took the last 4 games of every team of last season and gave a bit of a factor, because the end of the season is probably about the best the team's going to be, and you're going to kind of hope that things might carry through. And I use that as a baseline to start with the model for this season. It's going to be wrong. It's going to pick some things, and it's going to be wrong on some things, because we had so many changes that the model can't understand right now, like coaching changes and the transfer portal. It doesn't understand those things, but
Yep.
I'm building that into the model. I have a way to keep it objective. This is a purely objective report. There's no subjectiveness in it. It's all 100%, objectivity based on trends and scores. Unfortunately, if we had yardage from every team and all, we could make this a really good thing. But this is, as you were talking about history and all, my plan here is to have every game that's ever been played in high school in North Carolina into my database, and
Wow.
every team factored with some kind of power rating, so that we could say, well, this at the end of this season, I think, quite honestly, I'm going to say it now, this Huff team, I think, is going to be the best team that we've ever seen in the state of North Carolina. They're going to exceed the 2004 Independence team, because they got that kind of talent. We're going to see a number of Sunday players playing on this team, great coaching. But so let's pit those two teams together and see how they fare. I want to be able to read rosters. I can read rosters now, but read rosters, look at height, weight. Coaches would put in squat numbers and bench press numbers and those kinds of things, and grading of linemen. Well, we could have our own little, NCHSAA football 2026, so.
Yeah, that's really cool.
This report is predicting all the games this week. It's really going to miss on some of them. It picked Independence over Burns. I haven't been following Burns recently, and this is Burns in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be that close of a game? But the report does power rankings for every classification. It'll do it for conferences and rank powers of conferences. This is the way it worked 10 years ago. Strength of schedule, strength of defense, strength of offense. Right now, it breaks those out. It has a strength of defense, a strength of offense, and then puts the strength of defense against the other team's offense, and as it comes up with these scores. And I'm looking, and if you want to contribute thoughts on objective metrics that could be thrown in, that can be applied to everybody, any metric that is added must be something that can be applied across to every team. Otherwise, it's not, I think, objective enough.
Sure. No, that's a really cool feature.
Say again?
That's a really cool feature. Great use of AI too.
Yeah. The hopefully the good thing about AI, and I've ran it against 2 previous seasons, 2025 and 2024. I had it go through and predict and look and see how it did and see what kind of adjusting it needs. And I mean, I've spent too much time training this AI, but AI is a very powerful tool, and what more we can gain by the end of this week, maybe next week, I'm going to be able to look at coaching records. And if we lose a coach, like a situation happened at West Charlotte where a coach leaves and another coach comes in, well, how much is that coaching change going to impact a team? Well, if a coaching change occurs and it sees it, and then it can look at the record of the coach, that might be able to apply some kind of factor as to how much down or, how much change it might occur. If we knew offensive schemes and other things. So anybody that wants to contribute that's watching this, you're more than welcome. More than anything, and this is a plea out to the audience again. Students in high school, if you're not playing football, or if you're playing football, but you're real good in math was always my favorite subject. It was the subject that I could help the smart kids with. Other subjects, not so much, grammar and things like that. But math was always my thing. And if math is your thing, AI is your thing, you want to have some involvement. I want to involve kids in this kind of a project and expand it and make it something that we all can enjoy. Coaches used to call me about the old report and why is the report not out today? It was only out for 3 years. There. But it is an interesting tool. Some of those coaches happen to be math teachers as well. So they were very interested in it. You're a statistics guy?
No.
Jim's.
I was a statistics major at Carolina.
God.
Yeah, I know. I was the cool kid.
No one will ever accuse me of being a math person.
Okay. Well, you understand the game, and if you've got thoughts, if you're interested of, hey, well, here's a metric that would apply to everybody, and it's something that you maybe requires a little work to find the information, but if you can get the information, it helps. Because the goal would be able to precisely predict scores.
Right.
Listen, I'm going to say this. I'm even thinking about adding in the ability to look at the forecast for the Friday that's coming up and use weather as a factor, because weather can be an evening thing or a separating thing for teams. And if you know historically how certain teams play in certain weather, I don't know.
One thing that I have learned to enjoy in my new job is when there's weather, I stay inside. It's too hot or it's too cold or it's raining, I don't have to go.
It's funny because today, the last couple of days, a young lady that I've known for a while, she contacted me the other day and asked, could she, did we want some help doing graphics and things? She has a great story that people should look into about her health last year, where she literally she could not be with us today. And the Observer ran a nice story about it. But she contacted me about helping us out. And she was showing me some pictures of that she had taken. She's a photographer, and it was at a Huff game. And I'm all bundled up in all this thick gear that definitely would keep you warm at 0 degrees temperature. So I'll get out in the weather, but I hear what you're saying.
I just want to say the comment here from Gabby.
That's her. Yeah, go ahead.
I could relate to this. I did not fail statistics, but at NC State, every single I don't know if it's still the same, but when I was there, every student, no matter what your major, had to take statistics. And you get a C-, you get credit for the class. So it was one of those giant classrooms where you had like hundreds of people in it, and they don't take attendance. So I stopped going and taught myself statistics on YouTube and got a C- and celebrated with a steak dinner that night.
I was laughing when you said YouTube is studying with YouTube because YouTube didn't even exist until like about 15 years after I graduated from Carolina. So that's
Okay.
like a
Well,
yeah.
let's move to Jim's. I'm sorry, Jim. Let's move to your key games.
All right, these are the games that I want to see how they progress because I do think they're either going to be close or they're going to tell us a lot about each team. That first game, Mallard Creek and Rollsville. This game is at Rollsville this year. I think this is going to be really. It's going to say a lot about both teams. Mallard Creek. A lot of people are not. They just don't know if Mallard Creek is a contender. I think Rollsville's got a lot to prove too. They got a new head coach. Uh, Last year may be a little bit of a disappointment. I do think they have a little bit to show. I also think Roseville has a really good abundance of talent. I did see both teams at the Bull City Classic this past Friday, and I know both teams are going to be strong, but I'm really looking forward to seeing this game. I think it's going to be really cool. Southern Alamance, Eastern Randolph, you're talking about a 6A versus a 3A team. Eastern Randolph is a very special 3A team. I mean, they're a team that, to me, could win the state championship. They're right there, maybe just a tiny bit behind Lincolnton and Shelby, but not by much. Southern Alamance is the team that's probably, I'm going to say, around top 20 in 6A. This game could really go either way. Burns at Crest. Last year, Crest blew out Burns. Crest maybe not as strong this year. Burns is going to be stronger. I do think Crest is going to win this game, but I do think it's going to be a lot, much more in doubt. It might take third or fourth quarter for Crest to put them away. I'm going to stop there, see if anybody, Nick, do you have any thoughts about any of these three games?
No, I mean, I think just based on what I know right now, I think all three of those are interesting. I tend to agree with you about the Rollsville Mallard Creek game. I feel like those are both two teams that feel like they have something to prove. I do think Rollsville's probably, at least on paper, the favorite in that one. But yeah, the Eastern Randolph is a program that's been very interesting to me for a few years now. They've been kind of like right there, but just can't get over that hump. And I mean, Burns and Crest, that'll be an exciting one.
How about you, Dale? What's your thoughts about these games, these top three games?
I think the first game is the one that'll tell me a lot because I do want to know where. I think Rollsville's going to be a very good team, let's say. Are they going to be a contender at the end of the season? We would think that they will be, but that's to be seen. If Mallard Creek plays them close or wins, then that tells us that Mallard Creek is going to be there. So I really think we'll learn more about Mallard Creek than we will Rollsville. I think that's the way that'll go. Who's going to win it? Again, if I think that we're going to learn more about Mallard Creek, then probably Rollsville. Otherwise, I don't have anything more to say about the others.
Okay. Let's go down to the next three here. Rocky Mount at Tarboro. Tarboro wins the state championship. Rocky Mount's going to be stronger this coming year. Rocky Mount's a 5A team. Tarboro's going to be a 2A. I honestly think this could be a coin flip. Part of me says Tarboro's going to win this game, but to me, it's going to be a really close one. Ashley at Sanderson. These two teams match up really well. The game is in Raleigh this year. Both teams are they're maybe I wouldn't say a contender, but maybe they're trying to fight to see who might be the dark horse in a 7A East. Keep an eye on both of them. I think right now I probably would pick Jeremy Buck's Sanderson team over Ashley. Conley Laney. This is going to be interesting. Conley is a 7A team. Laney is an 8A team. This game could also go either way. I do want to see how Laney does. If Laney beats Conley and beats them comfortably, I might have to readjust my thinking about the 8A East. Laney could be stronger, might make a pretty decent run in 8A, but I'll stop right there. Dale, I know these are some games on the eastern side of the state. Got anything you want to add?
Well, good luck, Mr. Buck. Hope you have a great game. Hope you have a great season. As far as the games, I think if I were going to a game, I'd love to go to that Rocky Mount Tarboro game. I really believe you're going to have to go up even higher in classification to get teams that's going to be able to chip, Tarboro off. But I do believe that could be a close game. But I agree with the computer here.
How about you, Nick? What's your thoughts?
I like Tarboro in that game too. The Sanderson game, I agree with what you said, Jim. I think Jeremy Buck's done a good job at Sanderson. That's a program that has struggled over its history to be consistently at the top of the conference, and they're in games. So I think he's done a good job there. I think that would be a good way to start the season with a win over Ashley. Conley and Laney. The problem I have with Laney's chances is I just think that the difference in the top of 8A East is so much different than what's behind it. Like Millbrook and Rolesville. I don't see anyone in the 8A East, at least on paper right now, that's going to compete with those two. But that's why you play the games.
Gotcha. We'll go to the next three here. Reesville and Northern Guilford. I think this is going to be a barn burner. I can't remember who won that game last year, but right now I'm going to take Reesville over Northern Guilford, but I don't expect a blowout. Next game, last year Catholic beat South Meck. This year I think this game is as close to a coin flip as possible. I'm picking South Meck to win this one. I think South Meck has something to prove. I think they have more than to prove, and I also think they have some of the most underrated coaching in the state of North Carolina. Going with South Meck on that one. Jordan and Leesville Road, to me, this is I think both these teams have a lot to prove. They're like, to me, they're right behind Millbrook and Hoggard and Rolesville. I think they're the next tier in the 8A East. Whoever wins that game might be the next top game, or not top team. I'm going to take Jordan in that game, but it could really go either way. Dale, I'll start with you. What's your thoughts?
Okay. The first and third game, I'm going to just leave your comments as they are. My plan, and I don't know what the current weather situation is and games moved with the South Meck Catholic game, but that was my plan to go to that game. Catholic has an advantage with Brockowitz coming back to lead the program. He's the coach that took over after Coach Odo left. Very, very good coach. I think he took Catholic to the next level, implementing some different schemes on offense, even spreading out a little bit through his time there. And when I say spread out, I mean running some spread more than just the wing tee. So I picked South Meck to win that game, but I do expect the game to be close. I know the computer has it the other way, but the computer doesn't know who's coaching Charlotte Catholic. So, and Catholics had a great turnout of kids in participation this year, as did Mallard Creek, by the way, 140 plus kids.
Wow.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Nick, what's your thoughts about these games? Anyone stands out to you?
One thing I'll just say about South Meck, I was at the South Meck Palisades playoff game last year. I was in Charlotte for a meeting that weekend and decided to come in a day early to go to that. That game felt like one that it kind of sucked that either team had to lose. It was a very, I think it was like 35 or 34, 32, something like that. It was a great game. Mm-hmm. And I liked what I saw from South Meck there. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them win that game. That Jordan-Leesville game, I think, is going to be an important one when we get to the end of the season, when it comes down to the RPI for the playoffs. I think whoever wins that is going to have a little bit of a benefit going into the playoffs. And I think that's a coin flip game. I think it could go either way.
Exactly. Let's do the last three here. Lincolnton and Maiden. Lincolnton's a 3A team. Maiden's 4A. Lincolnton, is, as I stated earlier on, is my favorite to win the 3A West. I tell you what, going into Maiden is no easy bout. This game to me is as close to a coin flip, also, just kind of like that South Meck and Catholic. Part of me wants to pick Lincolnton, but you know what? I think Maiden's going to have that chip on the shoulder. There's some intangibles there, and I'm going to pick Maiden to win it by just maybe a point or two. Mountain Heritage, Pisgah. Mountain Heritage has graduated a lot of players, but they do have a lot of talent coming back, and also some kids that are going to be now playing on varsity. Pisgah, to me, is the favorite in this game. I just want to see if Pisgah is a team that could compete with the other 4A teams in the West to represent the West. Maybe they could beat High Brighton or whomever. E.R. Brown at Porter Ridge, that's another good matchup. I think both of those teams want to show that they cannot be forgotten about. E.R. Brown has a lot of history on their side. The game is at Porter Ridge. Another game that could just really go either way. I'm going to take Brown on this one, but I'm not surprised. I would not be surprised if Porter Ridge wins this one. Nick, I'll start with you on that. Any thoughts about those three games?
Based on what you've said about Lincolnton and Maiden, I think that's going to be an exciting one. That might be one. If that's on the NFHS network, I might have to pull that one up and watch that one. The Pisgah Mountain Heritage game, I see the computer picked Mountain Heritage, but I'd be curious to see how that game plays out with losing some of that talent.
All right, Dan, what's your thoughts?
All three are going to be great games, I believe. Lincolnton and Maiden, that's. I just think they're all going to be exceptional games. I think they're all going to be games that either team can find a way to win without having to look too hard. But that last game, I'm looking to that game to tell me more about A.L. Brown, to see where they may be, because supposedly they may have a good team this year. So I think they're all going to be good games.
Yeah, we should have a lot of good opportunities across the state. Now, you know what? I just picked out the top 12 games that mean the most to me. I think I picked out like 24 or 25 games that could be within like 2 or 3 points. So if you guys have a place to go to this year or this week, many different opportunities. The biggest obstacle for me right now is weather. I don't know when certain games are going to be played. They're going to be moved up to Thursday. They're going to stay Friday. Maybe they'll go to Monday. I'm not a big fan of Saturday, but I'll go to a Saturday game if needed. I'm going to say right now we might see 40 or 50 games played on Thursday. Nick, seems like there was a lot of games being moved in the eastern half of the state to Thursday. Are you seeing the same thing, or?
Yeah, there are a bunch of games. I think it's already like over 50. I think I saw a high school OT tweet that said that they've got over 50 already moved. Weather in North Carolina in August, it's either going to be hot or storming or both. So,
right,
or both, or both.
Steamy, that's for sure.
I have a look to see.
Else.
There's some games. Providence at Hickory. I think there's more than that though that's been moved to Thursday. I thought here in this.
I got to ask Nick a question about what he considers Eastern North Carolina football. I live in the Triangle. This is not Eastern North Carolina. I don't care what anybody says. We're in the eastern half, but we're not Eastern North Carolina. To me, anything east of I-95 is Eastern North Carolina. I think you got the Northeast, where my in-laws are from, the Northeastern quarter. Then you got what I call the Down East area, like from like Craven County, Glenore County, Pitt County, and so forth. And then you got the kind of the Sand Hills southeastern part. What's your definition of Eastern North Carolina football?
Similar, east of I-95, that region. So Rocky Mount, down Wilson, down to like Sampson County and east. I consider like Cumberland County and Moore County and like Hoke and Scotland and Richmond. Like, to me, that's all the Sandhills, and that's a little bit different.
Right.
Then you've got the Triangle. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier with North Carolina as a state. We have such diverse areas that are different. So we say the eastern half of the state and the western half of the state, but in those two places, they're very different areas, different types of football, different types of barbecue. By the way, Eastern North Carolina barbecue is better. So there's lots of there's lots of things that make each region unique.
Yeah, but there's not two regions in North Carolina. There's three. That's the problem. There's an east, a Piedmont, and a west.
In the west.
So, and distinctly, when we look at it as football, you're looking at Eastern football, Piedmont football, and Western football.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at barbecue, there's Eastern barbecue, Piedmont barbecue, and Western barbecue. There's three styles of barbecue in North Carolina.
Well,
there's three. There's
really only one, but that's okay.
I like them all, to be quite honest with you.
I do too. But one's definitely better.
So I grew up in the western half of the state. I guess I had more. I don't know what Baden was. We're at Lexington style. What's that? Is that Piedmont barbecue?
What, Lexington? Lexington is Piedmont is what it's called.
Okay.
Lexington is what a lot of people call it, but it's Piedmont barbecue. It was developed. Piedmont style barbecue was developed in actually it was developed by Stamey's and grew big in Lexington. So there you go. You don't know, Nick, but I've eaten at. There was a time when I was collecting, when I decided, after I'd already been eating barbecue for about 20 years, I decided to collect menus, and I stopped collecting after about a year and a half, 2 years, and I had over 100 menus. I travel. I've eaten barbecue across the country, not just the state, but the country. I've eaten every style of barbecue. I've been to Kansas City, Memphis, Texas, Nashville, all over Tennessee. Alabama. Yeah. So we could talk barbecue, and I'd love to talk barbecue sometime. I love Eastern. I love Piedmont. I'm not as a fan of Western, but I eat it. Western is a thick, it's your thick, pasty sauce. But anyway,
as long as it's not mustard,
we
could. I'd eat mustard too.
South Carolinians.
Wherever I am, I take part in the people's culture.
There you go.
So last season, I ended with a lot of mental grief and physical grief, and was unable to attend the state championships because of surgery. I'm able to run, which I've not been able to do up and down side, even though I run up and down sidelines. So my final thoughts are, you're going to see me more spry on the sidelines this year than most of you have ever seen. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the season. And really, that's all there is this week, is that, it's a fresh start, and hopefully every kid that's out there playing, you take to heart what you're going to be taking part in this weekend. Some of us old people, we still get the feeling when we walk on the field that we got when we were in high school. I still have a sense in my bones when I walk into stadiums, the way that I feel, the things that I smell, even though now it's less grass and more turf. But still those feelings that you get, they do live with you. You should enjoy what you're about to take part in. Try to be mindful of your teammates and mindful of the other team. Try to be respectful, be competitive, but be respectful, and enjoy. And that's my final thought.
All right. Well, Dale, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much for coming up today. You've been a big help for us, and it's just always good to have some collaboration with Nick Stevens again. Nick, we wish you the best. Many different places you can catch up with Talking Preps this week. I'll give you see the schedule right there. Next time will be on Friday, the Talking Preps post game at 11 p.m. Please come on down. And again, everybody, thank you so much for Jim West, Del Ross, and Nick Stevens. Thank you so much for coming and participating on Talking Preps OT. Have a good evening.
And Nick, you're welcome.